And welcome back to Starlight Studio. This is Photoshop for Beginners class number 8, and in this class we will be learning the clone stamp tool. What is a clone stamp tool? Okay, firstly we need to understand the words clone stamp and what they actually mean. The word clone means to copy or to duplicate. Stamp is to make a mark or to stamp something, okay, with a mark. Now that we have a rough understanding of the words clone and stamp, let's see how we can actually utilize this tool within Photoshop. So without further ado, let's get into Photoshop for Beginners. Okay, let's open up Photoshop, and as you can see I have an image downloaded which we'll be working with this for the purpose of this tutorial. Clone stamp. If you look to the left side of your interface, you've got your tools, and one of the tools which has a stamp or rubber stamp icon. If you hover your mouse over it, it should say clone stamp tool and the letter S for sugar in brackets. Now that S is just a shortcut key. Okay, I'll explain what that means in a short while. For example, I was in my, say, brush tool. Okay, now I wanted to move quite quickly into my clone stamp. I would press the letter S on my keyboard and it will take me straight into my clone stamp. Okay, shortcut key. And just like with any other tool, the clone stamp also brings its own options, as you can see from the top layer here. Okay, let's see how clone stamp tool actually works within Photoshop. So we'll open up a new layer. Make sure your new layer is highlighted, and this sample drop down box here, it says all layers. If it's on current layer, make sure you're on current or below or all layers. Now what that actually means is if you're working with this layer which is absolutely blank, it has nothing in there, so it can't copy anything from that layer. So once you click all layers, whatever layers are below that blank layer or whatever layer you're working on, it will sample data from the layers below it as well. Okay, so I'm in layer 1, which is absolutely blank. I've got all layers checked or highlighted and selected, sorry. I'm in my clone stamp tool. Let's just zoom in slightly. As you can see in this image of the lake, of the misty lake, I've got a couple of logs just peeking through the water here. Okay, if I wanted to hide this part of the image, I have to pick data from a different part of the image and just cover over it. Okay, now how would we do this? Very simple. Pick a point. Say for example I'd like to pick, this is my source point, I'd like to copy data from this point. So Alt and left click down. As soon as I press the left click down and the Alt together, you'll see a target point, as you can see on your screen. Release the left click and the Alt. Now if I drag my mouse to a point where I'd like to copy that data, say for example at this point I'd like to copy that data from that source point. Left click down. As soon as I press my left click, a cross appears on the original source point, as you can see. Now as I drag my mouse across, you can see that cross moving as well. Wherever that cross is, that's where the data is being copied from. Okay. As you can see, we've managed to hide. Now, if we fit the image to screen, as you can see, we've hidden those two logheads that were appearing from beneath the water. This is with the layer off. There's the original image, and this is with the layer on, where we've cloned part of the lake onto the water to hide. And there you go. Okay, this is how we use the clone stamp. One method of hiding parts of an image. Another way would be, let's open up a new layer, make sure all layers is active, make sure clone stamp is active. Okay, for example, I'd like to copy this part here in a different part of the image. Okay. If I go here, Alt and left click down, the target point appears, which means it's selected my source point. As soon as I release my left click and my Alt, my brush appears, and I can move my cursor to the part of the image where I'd like to copy that data from. For example, I'd like to copy that logheads peeping through the water here. I would left click down and just drag my mouse left, and as you can see, I've replicated those two logheads in a different part of the image. Now, the advantage of using layers, for example, I only wanted one instead of both logs appearing through the water. Make sure your layer is highlighted. You can go into your eraser tool and simply erase that copy and just leave one loghead. Okay, hopefully that concept is clear of how to erase a copy and how to use the clone stamp to either reveal or to hide something within your image. Quite an easy tool to use within Photoshop, but very, very effective if you get your head around how to use clone stamp within your images. Okay, let's just turn this on. So basically we had, this was the original image, and this is what we've done with the image. We've taken this from the original image excuse me, and we've removed the two logheads, and we've taken one of the logheads and placed it in another part of the image. Even if you zoom in, and there you go, this is the image that we copied from that part. Okay, so let's fit the screen. Hopefully that concept of clone stamp tool is pretty clear in your heads. Okay, aligned and non-aligned, aligned ticked and aligned ticked off. Let's open up another layer and let's close this layer off. So we're now back to the original. Now we're back to the original image, working on layer 3, which is active, which is once again a blank layer. Make sure all layers are ticked because we're working on a blank layer, so we want to be copying from data from this. Okay, with the align ticked on, go to your source, left click down, you'll get a target point, and if I go to a new point where I'd like to copy, left click down, release. Now as I drag my mouse across, and once I left click down, say at this point, if you look at the cross, it's also moved in a line with wherever I moved my cursor or my mouse. So if I move it here now, you see where the cross has moved, it's moved aligned, and it will copy data from wherever that cross point is. If I move it here, It will copy it. If I move it here, it will copy it wherever that cross is. So I've unchecked the aligned, and let me just increase the size of the brush. This is the point I'd like to copy. Left click down, Alt and left click down, you get a target point. Release the left click and the Alt. Remember, it's unchecked this time. For example, if I was to go here, left click down once, release my left click, go to another point. Once I re-engage my left click, it will always pick from the original source point. This time the cross is not moving in tandem with my mouse drags. So I can go here, even if I move my mouse here, or even here, or even there, or there, it will always copy from the original source point here. Here, you see how much I've dragged my mouse, yet I'm only copying from the original source as long as I release my left click. However, if I was to copy here, left click down, and with the left click being held down, I drag my mouse, the source point will also move as long as my left click is held down. Okay, just keep that in mind once using the aligned, checked or unchecked. I'll normally leave it unchecked. Okay, so hopefully you've understood the concept of how to use the clone stamp tool. Like always, practice makes perfect, so you have to go away and do your practice runs. The only way you're going to get used to and familiar with these tools is by doing your practice runs with your images and with your own images, and see what wonderful things that you can create with the clone stamp tool and how you can utilize it for your benefit. Okay, any questions regarding the clone stamp tool, please post a comment in the comments below and we'll come back to you ASAP. Once again, don't forget to subscribe, like, share the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified about future tutorials and classes. Okay, as always, take care of yourselves. Until the next time, adios amigos.